Waging war on corruption. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
We've got Dr. Jerome Corsi joining us tomorrow. He says he's got the proof and is going to be breaking it tomorrow that the birth certificate is a group of composites. We're working on getting Steve Pieczenik on the show. I talked to him yesterday, and he said he was set for 2 o'clock Eastern. That's right now, and we'll work on getting him on the show to talk about a host of issues like banned terror group seeks U.S. rebirth. I know Pieczenik says he listens to the show off and on, so if he's listening right now, Doc, your phone's sounds like it's not disconnected, but goes right to voicemail. Might have been knocked off the hook. That happens some at my house, or a cordless phone gets left on. That happens sometimes with guests. But he wanted to talk about this article, Banned Terror Group Seeks U.S. Rebirth. An Iranian exile group, once called an ally with Saddam Hussein, has enlisted former top U.S. officials, including heads of the CIA, FBI, and Joint Chiefs of Staff and politicians from both parties to try to get it removed from the State Department's terror list. And it gets into the Mujahideen. So when we come back from break, and we'll go a little bit into overdrive next hour, Dr. Steve Pieczenik will be joining us coming up here in about 5 minutes. In other news, you heard Dr. Paul Craig Roberts earlier. I don't like Dominique Strauss-Kahn. He's the head of the Socialist Party. He's a big Bilderberg Group globalist. But he had been splitting with other counterparts in the IMF, with Nicolas Sarkozy. He was favored to beat Sarkozy. And it is being reported by the Mail and a bunch of other papers. In fact, they admitted here that the top spin doctor, the Karl Rove type for Nicolas Sarkozy, admits that they knew about the fact that they were about to arrest him before it even happened. And another staffer for Sarkozy put a Twitter out before he was even arrested, or as they were going to get him at the airport, and claimed that they had sources at the hotel. So you see the intelligence operation all over this. There's just so much action happening right now because all of this stuff is starting to come to a head. And you have Esquire, this known mouthpiece for the Democrats, boldly coming out and putting out a hoax article yesterday and not telling people it was a hoax till later in the afternoon, saying they talked to Joseph Farah, owner of WorldNet Daily and publisher of Where's the Birth Certificate, and that he was apologizing, that the book was a lie, and that he was going to recall the book and give everybody's money back when the book is a bestseller. That's economic espionage to cause bookstores to have a run of people trying to get their money back, so then they then pull the book from the store shelves. I mean, that is a super desperate, dirty trick. If the birth certificate's discredited, if that's all put to bed, why do that? In about an hour or so, we have a video going up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com that breaks all this down and shows all the documentation for it. So that is coming up as well. We do have Dr. Steve Pieczenik with us, and we're going to come back from break and talk to him about a host of issues. Obama's speech today that Dr. Pieczenik talked about last week that was upcoming, basically saying that Israel's got to give up most of the land it's taken since '67, while at the same time telling us that these are great freedom-fighting forces in the Middle East, even though a lot of them are al-Qaeda in Sudan, in Libya, in other areas. And then a magic bin Laden tape comes out from the grave agreeing with this, saying these are great freedom fighters. I mean, this is baloney. And so it's all coming up with Dr. Steve Pieczenik on the other side. We also have the Pakistani military coming out saying if more helicopters fly into their country, they're going to open up on them. We already had a shootout and people being wounded on the Pakistani side Monday with a helicopter. It's all coming up with Steve Pieczenik on the other side. Stay with us.
You may be arrested and/or subject to other police action.
Tyranny is here. The grim future foretold in 1984 has become reality.
It really says that the state is God.
The United States is now recognized globally as one of the most oppressive police states on Earth. This film conclusively proves the existence of a secret network of FEMA camps, now being expanded nationwide. This documentary exposes how the continuity of government program has established an all-powerful shadow state. Police State 4 chronicles the sickening depths to which our republic has fallen. Prepare to enter the secretive world of emergency dictatorship. Body scanners, sound cannons, citizen spies, stage terror, and cameras on every street corner. It's only the beginning of the New World Order's hellish plan. The police state isn't coming. It's here. Secure your copy today at Infowars.com or see it online in the highest quality at prisonplanet.tv.
Hi, folks. This is Alex Jones. I'm looking for people that have the wisdom to spot savings, opportunity, and recognize risk. Saving means to make money. The Cal-Ben Pure Soap Company can save you thousands of dollars and give you good old-fashioned real soaps that are triple concentrated and twice as good as what you're using now. Soaps made from vegetable and coconut oils that contain no useless dyes, perfumes, deodorants, or antibacterials. Your risk is the hundreds of hazardous toxic detergents that give you rashes, itching sores, and deteriorating clothing called lint. If you want something better, if you want something you've never had before, you have to do something you've never done before. Getting a free catalog is easy by calling 800-340-7091 or see Calvin on the web at 5starsoap.com. Take charge of your health now by calling 800-340-7091 or see Calvin on the web at 5starsoap.com.
This is Alex Jones with 5 good reasons you should consider buying a solar power generator. Number 1, new climate legislation could easily double or triple your electric bill. Number 2, our new energy czar wants to control how much power your electric company allows you to have. It's true. Total government control of electricity in the name of smart grid technology is coming. Number 3, in some areas of the country, the power grid is dangerously overloaded. And now, new socialist legislation is only compounding the problem. Number 4, dangerous weather is always a threat to local grids. Every year, thousands of families lose their power from weather-related outages. Number 5, a solar power generator provides powerful backup insurance and peace of mind. Folks, I really believe in the solar power generators offered by Solutions from Science, one of my oldest sponsors. You can get more information at www.mysolarbackup.com. That's mysolarbackup.com. Remember, the government doesn't own the sun, so go to mysolarbackup.com or call 1-877-327-0365.
He's the T-Rex of political talk. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
Undoubtedly, at least go 30 minutes into overdrive next hour so we can take your calls for Dr. Steve Pieczenik. This is now, his 5th visit with us in the last 2 weeks. Dr. Steve Pieczenik was Deputy Assistant Secretary under Henry Kissinger of State, Cyrus Vance, James Baker. His expertise includes foreign policy, international crisis management, and psychological warfare. He served the presidential administrations of Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush in the capacity of the Deputy Secretary. In 1974, Pieczenik joined the U.S. State Department as a consultant to restructure its Office of Prevention of Terrorism. In 1976, Pieczenik was Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Management. StevePieczenik.com. He also co-authored quite a few of the Big Tom Clancy books. He was the Jack Ryan character. That's on record, what they modeled that after. And he also, of course, you go to IMDb, the International Movie Database, all the films and TV shows that he's been behind. And we're going to cover the waterfront today. I said, what do you want to talk about? And he said, well, I want to get into GM with our money financing a celebration of the Communist Party in China. That's worse than New York lighting up the Empire State's building in the communist Chinese colors. He wants to get into this report. Banned terror group seeks U.S. rebirth. That's in the Wall Street Journal. He also said he wants to talk about Schwarzenegger and the fact that everybody knew he had this son. I was told this by Hollywood people. I was told this by famous bodybuilders that contacted me whenever I had the website arnoldexposed.com. We still have it. But when he was talking about running for president, we put that out, and part of my film, The Rise of the Police State, covers that. He wants to get into the Dominique Strauss-Kahn thing, all of it, and how this ties into intelligence operations today. Dr. Pieczenik, good to have you back with us.
It's always a pleasure to be on your show, and I was so irate as a citizen of the United States to read this in the Washington Times on May 18th, which said Pickett, GM sponsors and celebrates soon-to-be-released Chi-Com. That's Chinese communist propaganda film. And for your audience, what this really means is that the head of GM, a gentleman by the name of Daniel Ackerson, who was trained at the U.S. Naval Academy and worked his way up as a lieutenant on a destroyer and then became CEO, thanks to our Treasury Department, has decided to spend our money. That's my money, your money, ladies and gentlemen, the United States government, where we own 33% of General Motors, to finance and sponsor a propaganda film. That's a Chinese communist propaganda film explaining how great the Chinese Communist Party is since its birth 90 years. Now, let's differentiate between the Chinese people who have done a wonderful job of making their nation grow, who have resisted this repressive Chinese country, have used their Twitter, things like Sina, S-I-N-A, and we've used our Twitters and I've used fax machines to help them in Tiananmen Square. And in turn, this traitor, American traitor, Daniel Ackerson, who's hired by us to fund GM, which we sponsored, has gone out of his way to sponsor this film called The Birth of the Chinese Communist Party. Now, for those of you who may not know what the birth of the Chinese Communist, it is built on repression, death, suppression, and the killing of millions Chinese.
No one has killed more. Not the Nazis, not the Soviet communists. The Chinese government admits under Mao, they say 86 million. Our State Department says 64 million. The issue here is you can pull up the films they shot themselves of old women, children being lined up, their heads being blown off. And this shows who runs our government. And by the way, you have the...
Well, you're right, Alex, because this gentleman, Daniel Ackerson, was a member of which group? The Carlyle Group out of Washington. Once again, that has been indicted for all kinds of malfeasant experiences and unusual activities financially. But more importantly, he was appointed by a Treasury Department. So this is what I'm asking the Chinese citizens to do. Go on Sina, S-I-N-A, and Twitter against this issue. And I want the Americans to Twitter to cease and desist this funding of the Chinese propaganda film. Now, the communists, remember, Chinese Communist Party killed our American troops in North Korea. They initiated the war in Korea. They assisted in the Vietnam War. They assisted, they slaughtered millions, what you said, 60 to 80 million in the Cultural Revolution. They then went on to Cambodia to assist the utter genocide of the killing of the Cambodians themselves without any apologies. And then they go forth in Tiananmen Square to suppress their own people. And now they have the Jasmine revolutions. That means the young people who want to protest, the truck drivers, the cab drivers. And I say to our Chinese friends and our Chinese colleagues, the citizens of China who are consuming our products, go on Sina, S-I-N-A, and Twitter your disappointments, go into the streets and refuse to accept this. And then I say to our American colleagues, go Twitter and tell your congressmen and senators to stop this egregious anti-American behavior and to stop funding Chinese propaganda.
Well, it shows just how insane.
I'm sorry.
No, it just shows how insane this White House is, running GM and then using our tax money to finance something, worshiping Mao Zedong. We have all these restaurants opening called Mao's. The college kids are wearing Mao shirts. These could not be bigger, useful idiots. Mao Zedong, the Chinese government even admits, did not bathe, had sex with about 6 women a day, was a degenerate piece of arrogant filth, and this murdering blob of pus is being worshipped with our tax money. It just shows how completely